Oh, I made a shit ton of videos tonight. I'm making too many videos in one day. Made maybe 12, 14 videos today. But I think for the next few weeks I'm going to be doing days where I just make 10 or 12 videos. Mainly because, I haven't had the chance to make videos or good content, but I'm worried if I keep doing 12 every single day or whatever, it's going to get boring and repetitive and it's just going to turn into shit garbage content. So I think I'll have a break from doing this in the morning, and I think I'll stop. Yeah, just spam making because the content's gonna turn bad and I'm running out of ideas. I'm just making content now because I've got some good ideas, but I'm at the end of them about now. This is my last one for the night, and it's just basically advice on traveling alone. Um, First of all, the first piece of advice, probably the most obvious piece of advice, is make sure you can bloody well afford it. Budget maybe double or triple depending on how much you're paying. So if you're going to go for a low budget thing and it's say $300 a month, but the flights or whatever, double the amount it's going to cost when you're there, and add maybe 5% of the total cost to everything at the end, because you might think you're paying a certain amount, but emergency things happen. Sometimes it's not as it seems. Sometimes you need to buy this and that more, and there's a lot of things you don't account for. So yeah, plan it well in terms of money. If you're traveling for work, I suppose this isn't relevant, but if you're traveling to travel, which is really the purpose of this, and I'm talking for a month or 2 months, yeah, you should think of this, and you should think of what you're going to do with or for money in general. For example, if you're traveling around Europe, you could busk, you could look for other work. But if you're traveling around Asia, for example, and you're not a highly skilled person, you're not going to find much work, and you're not going to make much money from it in Asia or South America, for example, or Africa, for example. So, money, how much money you have, how much you're prepared to spend, and how much you can make. The financial consideration should be one of the first, unless there's an inherent security question. So, I guess the first and second question, depending on where you're going, is how safe is it? For example, if you're going to Syria, the first question should be how safe is it? Probably not very fucking safe. It's probably a terrible idea. But if you're forced to go there, you have to consider different safety protocols, where you're going to be, where there's going to be a violent conflict or whatever. Be prepared for emergencies if you're going to any destination. For example, in Peru recently there was flooding. I'm about to put a video up on that as well. But this happened suddenly and was an emergency situation, and this is the reason you should have more money than you think you need when you go away, because these things happen, the prices get inflated, you can't travel because everything's cut off, and so you have to spend more. You have to plan for these things. You can't plan specifically for every single emergency. There's thousands of situations that could break out, but you should generally have some kind of backup plan, backup money, all that. A way out, another way out, basically. So yeah, the first considerations are that. Second considerations are you should probably research a little bit about the country and the area you're going to, whatever you're doing there, and the local kind of attitudes towards you and what you're doing in your politics and the culture, because these things matter. Not too much. Don't freak out too much. For example, if you're going to an Arabic country, you probably don't want to be acting very openly homosexual or, in general, doing any homosexual things. For reasons that should be quite obvious to you. And for example, if you're going to a country like the UK that's very liberal, you probably shouldn't be telling everyone you want to kill every single homosexual you ever meet. That's not going to make you much favour in Manchester. You're going to get beaten up in 5 seconds. So, yeah, learn a little bit about the culture, and also for things other than respect, for communication. If you're going to be there for several months, think about learning the language, so maybe learn a little bit about that. And so, yeah, those are just general tips on this. Some other good tips might be involved with learning the language. Some good, useful things in learning a language are you can barter when you learn a language, right? when you learn bits of the language. They can't just rip you off. They can't just say this because if they say that something's some price, you got no way of defending it because you don't know how to defend it. You don't know how to buy it. You don't know how to do that. And you go to the next person, they'll do the same fucking thing. Now, if you've learned a little bit about their culture and their attitudes and you realize that's wrong and what they're doing is wrong, they can't fuck you around, they can't bully you around. If you know a bit of their language, you can say, no, I don't want it at this price, bye-bye. And because you say it in their language, they think you're a bit serious. It gives you more legitimacy, having some understanding of that language and cultural appreciation. It's also good to have some cultural appreciation because some cultures do things that we just don't understand or we think are disgusting, dirty or weird when it's just normal in the culture. And for example, if you're going to a third world country or developing country, you should expect that the facilities aren't that great. All the facilities, internet, food, travel, everything, but you might be able to expect that it's going to be cheap. Have reasonable expectations as well. This applies to hotels. If you're paying $3 a day for a hotel, don't expect it to be the Ritz. Don't expect it to be the Hilton 5-star accommodation. It's not going to be. Expect it to be a little bed in a little shack that's very unhygienic. And don't go and complain about this afterwards on a review board and tell people it was shit, because this is the wrong thing to do. You're paying $3 a day for a place. It's not going to be that good. You have to understand that. If you're going to stay in a hotel or a hostel, I'd recommend personally going through booking.com. Booking.com, sorry, my accent's fucked now. And I would recommend looking at the reviews before you go to these places. Some places don't have reviews, but I'd suggest going to places that have reviews if you can, if you're new to a place. Same with voluntary projects, this kind of thing. Look for reviews. If there's 500 reviews in the same name, it's obviously dodgy. There's 500 reviews and it's shit. Don't go there. It's shit. There's 500 reviews and there's 5 that say it's shit and 495 that say it's one of the best hotels they've ever stayed in for the price. You should probably go there. I mean, this is obvious, but we forget this kind of travel advice. Understand what you might need for the area you go to. So I'm talking environmentally or socially. It's up to you what you decide. But for example, if you're going to go to a desert that has an average temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, you probably want to bring water filtration equipment and suntan cream, sun repair stuff, and dehydration packets, because this is an area that you might need them in. And of course, if you're going to an area that's a constant average of minus 10 degrees, maybe somewhere in Russia, you probably want to get stuff for the cold, and maybe stuff that can produce heat in case of an emergency, and maybe emergency packs, depending on how long you're staying and where you're going. So think about the environment you're going to. Is there a lot of rain? Is there a lot of sun? Is there a lot of this and that? What am I going to need? When I went to the jungle, I needed a lot of tablets I didn't have, and I had to buy them. And yeah, you should prepare that you might have to buy things you don't have. You should definitely consider getting travel insurance. It's not always a requirement for a lot of things, but sometimes it is. So you should definitely look at that. And if you can afford to get it, you should definitely get it. It could save you a lot of money to get foreign insurance, travel insurance, health insurance, mainly health insurance. Another thing is to because to learn some of the language, not just for not just for negotiations, but you'll find that when you understand a language of a place, you understand more the culture and the people, because when you say the same thing in a different language, it's a different context to it, because the words and the way that it's spaced out in the rhythm, it gives a different feeling. It means you can feel the things of these cultures more deeply. You can understand them more, also because you understand them by actual what has been said, what has been proposed, but also because you can feel what these things mean, if that makes sense. I would recommend, if you are traveling alone, to try to book private rooms, especially if you're a woman, because there are some nasty people out here and you can be in vulnerable positions a lot of the time. or to try and make friends. Try and make friends as quickly as you can. See who else is going, and try and make friends who are similar nationality of yours or can speak languages that you can speak. Because if you go to a high crime area and you meet a bunch of people who are local from a high crime area, you can't trust them. Not because they're not from your country, but you're in a high crime area. It's the same if you went to a ghetto in America, but you were from the same, and you're from a different state. If a bunch of people who are quite criminal come up to you, you're going to know because you know American culture, but you're not going to understand that in another country. So be wary for a while until you understand the culture, and take things with a pinch of salt. People do talk bullshit. It's not that weird. People talk bullshit to each other. Another thing is try to look for discounted places. Try to see the things that other people don't see, and have a plan of what it is you want to be there for. Some people just want to go, and they don't have a plan, and that's good. That means you can make up a plan. You can decide when you're there. But some people want to go for something, and you need to determine what that is, and you need to determine when you're wasting time. For example, if you want to see a certain famous landmark or something, and you end up spending 8 weeks of your holiday in a totally different area and 1 week on there, it's not well spent. But if you enjoyed it, that's in contra to what I said. That's against what I said. But generally it makes sense to determine what you want out of that, or to work it out while you're there. For example, I would recommend doing your best to fit in with the local culture, not just because it's better for you, because some cultures might get very offended if you don't try to fit in, but also because it's a very good learning experience, and it can be quite fun. You realize people are pretty much just the same. They have a few different cultural and social and political ideas, but in general humans all do the same kind of shit and all kind of enjoy the same experiences. I would recommend trying to see exactly how cheap a flight you can get from different flight providers. I found Skyscanner was a good one, but before you book them, check their flight restrictions and check the way that they put baggage on. Because, for example, if they only allow 8 kilos of baggage in a small backpack, and you think your baggage allowance is 25 kilos, you're going to be paying like $400 more just to put that extra weight on. You won't be able to carry it on your back either. So be aware of this kind of thing. And another very important thing to be aware of is visas. Some countries require them depending on where you're from, some don't. But if you turn up to an airport that requires a visa from your country, and they don't have a policy of an open visa policy where you can buy one on entry, you're just going to get sent back home, and you're probably going to have to pay for these flights, and you'll probably be in debt to your government if you can't afford them. So do make sure you get a visa, and do make sure you understand your visa rules and requirements. And also look into other requirements for visas and entry. For example, there are plenty of countries you can go to if you got a visa, but some of these countries need immunization. So if you go to a country and you've got the visa but you don't have the immunization, same again, they'll send you back. So yeah, be careful with this. If you're flying by air, be careful where you sleep. And always make sure to arrive to places early. Or in the daytime. So if your hostel or hotel booking fucks up, you can book another place just for the day. Because if you arrive at 1 a.m. in the middle of a busy city centre or a strange neighbourhood where you can't speak their language and you don't know the culture, it could be very dangerous potentially. So it's always smart to plan to arrive early if you can, or to have somewhere to stay before you go to another place if it's more convenient. Don't take the risk just because you think you'll be alright. Your safety is much more important, really. And most of all, have fun. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.